Welcome to Knowledge Nuggets. Let's learn together. The Korean War, Stopping the Invasion. Hi, kids! Today we're going on an adventure through history to learn about the Korean War. It happened more than 70 years ago, but it's a super important story about countries working together, being brave, and stopping a bully from taking over someone else's home. The whole thing lasted from 1950 to 1953. First, we have to start at the end of World War II in 1945. Back then, Korea was one big country, but it had been ruled by Japan for a long time. When Japan lost the big war, the United States and the Soviet Union wanted to help Korea become free again. The problem was, they had very different ideas about how a country should be run. So they made a quick agreement. They drew a line across the middle of Korea at something called the 38th parallel. Everything north of the line would be watched by the Soviet Union, and everything south would be watched by the United States. It was supposed to be temporary, just until Korea could stand on its own. But the two big countries couldn't agree on one government for the whole place. By 1948, two different countries were born. In the south, the Republic of Korea started, a free country where people could choose their leaders and own their own shops and farms. In the north, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea started, and it was run as a communist country. Communism is when the government owns almost everything: the farms, the factories, the stores, and tells people what jobs they will do and how they will live. The leaders in North Korea and the Soviet Union thought communism was the best way, but it meant a lot less freedom for regular families to make their own choices. The leader of North Korea was a man named Kim Il-sung. He really wanted to be in charge of the whole country, north and south together, and he wanted the whole thing to be communist. The Soviet Union helped him by giving North Korea tanks, guns, trucks, and training for their soldiers. The Soviet leader, Joseph Stalin, even gave secret permission for North Korea to attack. North Korea's big plan was to surprise South Korea, take it over fast, and make one big communist Korea. On the 25th of June 1950, North Korean soldiers and tanks rolled across the border like a giant wave. South Korea's army was smaller and not ready, so the North Koreans pushed south really fast. It looked like they might win the whole country in just a few weeks. But South Korea asked the world for help, and the United Nations said, "We will not let one country bully another like this." For the very first time ever, the UN decided to send soldiers from many different nations to stop the invasion. The United States sent the most troops, but soldiers also came from Great Britain, Canada, Australia, Turkey, the Philippines, and more than 10 other countries. They all fought side by side. President Truman of the United States picked a famous general named Douglas MacArthur to be the boss of all these UN troops. General MacArthur was already a hero from World War II. He had won huge battles in the Pacific Ocean. He came up with a super smart plan. In September of 1950, he surprised everyone by landing thousands of soldiers right at a place called Incheon, behind the North Korean lines. It was a very effective sneak attack. The North Korean army was suddenly trapped between the UN soldiers coming from the south and the new soldiers landing at Incheon. The UN army chased them all the way up to the border with China. But then China, which was also a communist country, and friends with North Korea and the Soviet Union, jumped in the conflict. China sent hundreds of thousands of soldiers across the border to help the North. The fighting got really tough and cold in the snowy mountains. General MacArthur wanted to attack even harder, especially by targeting Chinese troops. America's president, Harry S. Truman, disagreed with MacArthur's aggressive strategy and wanted to take a more cautious approach. Eventually, their disagreement led to General MacArthur's dismissal, so he had to return home. Even though he left, the UN soldiers kept fighting bravely. On July 27, 1953, they signed an armistice, which is a big promise to stop shooting and stay on their own sides of the line. There is still no full peace treaty today, so Korea is still divided into North and South at almost the same line where it started. South Korea grew into a free, busy, happy country with amazing inventions and friendly people. North Korea stayed communist and very different. The Korean War showed the world that when countries work together, they can stop bullies and protect freedom. It also taught everyone how destructive communism was, and that it could lead to significant human suffering. Thousands of brave soldiers from many nations gave their best, and because of them, South Korea stayed free. And that's the story of the Korean War, full of surprises, teamwork, and standing up for what's right. Let's do a quick check on learning. Here are some questions for you amazing historians. Question 1. What happened to Korea right after World War II that started trouble later? It was divided into North Korea and South Korea. Question 2. What year did the Korean War begin? It began in 1950. Question 3. Who was the leader of all the United Nations forces during the Korean War? General MacArthur. Question 4. What political ideology did North Korea, the Soviet Union, and China believe in that led to a lot of human suffering? Communism. Question 5. What year did the Korean War end? In 1953. Good job! Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week for another amazing adventure.